So glad to see you again. So glad that you have decided, even in this time of great change, that you are more interested in riding with the wave than riding against the wave. For some of you, you'll be listening to this now, and for some of you, you'll be listening to it later. And of course, you can listen to it as often as you wish. I do recommend that you get a paper and pen. And if you're going to do that, just simply, push pause on your screen for a minute while you get it and bring it back. It's not absolutely necessary, so if you're too cuddly and cozy where you are, then don't worry about it, but it may prove to be a little bit helpful. This particular call is a sacred lesson that is different than the rest. For one thing, it is time sensitive. We are here in the middle of May in 2018. We have just started a new progression of 7 years. And the difference between where we were even a month ago and where we're going to be in a few months is quite grand. In addition, I want you to recognize that your speed of movement will be much faster than it's been in the past 7 years. So we'll start out with rolling back a little bit. So if you go back to 2011, and I know that you're not sitting there with all of your journals or Google searching your life, but just in your mind and somewhat even in your heart, because some things we remember more by our heart than by our brain. And think of where you were, not how far you've come, but just go back to 2011. Think of where you were in all different ways. Some of the very earthly ways, of course, is economics. The economics in the United States was going through a very difficult time, a lot of home foreclosures, a lot of unemployment. It doesn't mean that you individually had either of those, but just to kind of draw that picture for you so you remember what 2011 was. 2011 was very much under the old energy. The new energy started at the end of 2012. So basically, we still had another 18 to 24 months of looking at the old energy. But we're not looking so much at old energy versus new energy as where were you? So where were you in 2011? And I want you to now start to look at what has happened to you, not to the country, not to the planet, because this is a very personalized journey for this moment. I love this part of astrology because it turns out that it touches everyone on the planet. It doesn't make any difference what your sign is or what your ideas are or whether you're looking at your career or your beloved. It's a matter of some things are shifting so dramatically planet-wide that I really wanted to bring you into it so that you could look at it for yourself. So if you go back to 2011 and maybe jot down a few words or maybe just remember it, and then start gently coming forward. Not every nuance, of course, but we are talking about 7 years. Many things happen in a 7-year span. What things have happened to you? And perhaps it's easier to kind of work it as a silo. If you think of, oh, where was my career back 7 years ago? Where was my love life back 7 years ago? Where was my personal life? Where was my health? All of those things, and look at the changes that have come about. And please try not to look at them as, oh, this was a good change or this was a bad change. We are just looking at change and how rapidly change has come about for you. So as you're going through, again, you might want to just jot a few words so that you remember. As a matter of fact, after you're finished with this, if you have been keeping a journal over the years, it's kind of an interesting thing to look at. Even your own thought patterns, not only what you are physically doing on the planet, but the way that you embrace things, what you thought was important, what was your main push forward. Again, it's been a lot of changes in the last 7 years across the board. And I just want you to almost get an understanding of how quickly things have changed, how much you yourself have expanded, and how much you yourself have become more of a director of your own life. When we look at the planets and we look at the stars, we know that there are certain things that science has brought to us. One of the things that I want to bring to your attention without getting really, really deep into the astrology is that what we were just talking about, those last 7 years, yes, they were a time of great change, but they were also a time when you were going through those changes under the watchful eye, let's call it, of Aries. Doesn't mean much, except Aries is the warrior. Now, it doesn't mean that you were violent or that you were angry. I want you to think of the warrior not as ravaging something, but as protecting something. So here, you've already noted in your head or on your paper what you've gone through in 7 years, and the whole time you did it with that protector, not you're looking at a protector, but you being the protector. Well, you know yourself, if I'm here protecting something, I can't just be walking around and enjoying everything. I have to be watchful. I have to be kind of pulled into myself a little bit, not 100%, of course, but pulled in enough. It's almost as if you are anchored because you are in this state of the protector, of you protecting yourself, your family, your career, your country, whatever it was. Under Aries, the warrior, things were fast, but not nearly as fast as they're going to be for the next 7 years. So when you go through that list in your head and you think, oh, that's right, this happened, this happened, this happened, remember that with all that speed that you personally, your country, your planet was under a heavy weight of having to do 2 jobs, move forward and also look around and protect yourself. Well, now, just a few days ago, let's just go with the middle of May, we moved into a time of Taurus the bull. Now, when Uranus moved into Taurus, a lot of things shifted around. For one thing, we have not been there for over 80 years. The alignments of the planets aren't haphazard. Our ancients spent many eons of time, if you will, figuring out, when we look at the planets, it doesn't mean don't do this and yes, do that. It does mean where is the flow? What is the easiest routing? What can I expect in the future? So now that Taurus is here, Taurus is very grounded. It is not grounded in the way that you can't move. You're not rooted like a tree, but grounded, if you think about it, if you wanted to make a decision, if you wanted to change jobs or spouses, you want to do something physical, you wanted to change up your own idea of what was proper for you, then when you feel grounded and you feel comfortable, you can make those decisions in an easier environment. You can feel comfortable. You can feel that peacefulness flowing over you. So then when it comes time to make the action, because you have the decision and then you have the action, you are sure-footed. It doesn't mean, Taurus doesn't mean, as sometimes has been told, that you need to be bullheaded or that you need to be very stubborn. It just means it is, of all the zodiac signs, the most grounded one, the one that really, really does enjoy the earth, enjoys being in the earth, and feels comfortable on the earth. So that when you're making these changes over the next 7 years, you're so comfortable that you can make those changes pretty rapidly. And you can make them with that self-assuredness. It's not fairy energy, it is earth energy. Okay, what I want you to look at is the things that are happening and kind of a validation. The things that are happening on our planet right now, right almost immediately as soon as Uranus entered Taurus, we had the volcanoes in Hawaii. Now, for a volcano to be in Hawaii is not that big of a deal. However, the extensiveness of the time and the lava flow that happened on the Big Island was not only quite massive, even by Hawaii standards, but it was totally unexpected. Of course, they know that volcanoes are going to show up here and there, but it showed up way beyond where it was expected. It showed up in a space and time where it should have been more of a natural flow rather than what we have seen and what we are still seeing, because it is still going on. When we look at the volcanoes in Hawaii, I also want to bring to your attention another volcano, which are the volcanic actions that are happening in the center of the United States. Again, Yellowstone was always known that it was an underground volcano. However, even things that we expected might happen eventually are starting to happen now. This isn't to give you fear. It is simply to point out to you how things are rapidly changing, because that's where you're going to be going over the next 7 years, and at the same time when they are very grounded. Now, one of the examples I want to give you for very grounded is the royal wedding. I don't normally follow royalty, but for some reason, this particular wedding really got our attention. Maybe because it's Princess Diana's son, but I also feel energetically that a lot of it is because they marry the two things that we are looking to marry now: tradition with absolute non-tradition. We don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. We want some of the wonders that we have experienced on this planet to continue, and yet at the same time, we want them to continue in a different vein. So when the royal wedding came about and two very unpredictable people had a very predictable wedding, from the dress to the service, then I want you to look at that and see that balance of being very much different, very changing, and at the same time very grounded. We also see the combination there as a great sign of faith, faith in the changes that are coming about in the next 7 years. So that piece of paper that you have, and you wrote down a few things that you're recalling over the last 7 years, and perhaps just how quickly that change came about for you. I want you to now look at where you are now. You don't have to get too expansive, but I'm sure over the time, last few weeks or few months, ideas have come into your head of what you want to accomplish. And I want you again just to take a quick note and to say, oh, this is what I would like to see come to fruition in the next 7 years. Regardless of what your chart is, what your sign is, we are all going through a very significant change, personally and collectively. So if you just jot down a few things. Once you have a few things jotted down, remember that this is a continually growing list. But I wanted you to have something to start with, something that you felt not only comfortable with, but passionate about, something that you thought, wow, I'm really eagerly going to embrace this. Now, when you look at this, I want you to recognize that your own timeline as an individual and collectively and planet-wise will be much faster than it was 7 years ago, because the anchor, the warrior of Aries is no longer part of it. So when you look back 7 years in the future, you know, we're sitting here talking at 2024, hopefully you will still have pictures or written materials from 2018 to see how dramatic those changes have been. So whatever you've written down, again, it's just your baseline. You're going to go way beyond that, recognizing that there are many things that haven't even become part of our norm. It's not only is it not in the mainstream yet, it's not even on the edges yet. There are things that are coming into the planet. There are inventions, there are energies. There's information that's coming about quantum physics, about sacred geometry, about fractal time that even 5 years ago seemed so science fiction. When I studied it, I loved it and couldn't see where there was any use for this on the planet because it was so far out. And yet now, even in something as simple as social media, you read a story about some 18-year-old that has used sacred geometry to produce a product that's helping to clean up the oceans. So I want you to recognize that you don't have to know the answer. I ask you to hold on to that faith that just like 7 years ago, if I had said to you, oh, you'll be all the way to here in 2018, you would look at it now and say, I can't believe how far along I've gotten by the time you're in 2024. I know for myself, it was a fairly simple hindsight because I moved back to America in 2011. And when I recognized these differences coming in astrologically, and of course, just like I asked you to do, I asked myself, like, oh, where were you in 2011? And I see so many massive changes about me personally and professionally. When in 2011, I was already a healer, but I was kind of an unannounced healer. You know, I might work on somebody once in a great while. And in these 7 years, for myself, because I've opened myself up the same way I'm asking you to open yourself up to that divine inspiration. And now I'm doing healing work virtually every day. I'm writing a couple of books. I'm a published author. And this isn't because I did something brilliant. I did the one thing that I knew to do, and that was to listen to my spirit guides and allow them to give me those action steps. And once that took hold, and I look back and I think, wow, that was only 7 years ago, that to me is amazing. Because if I go back the 7 years before that, or the 7 years before that, not such a quick turnaround. So when you're looking at it, and again, things will pop up and you'll remember, I want you to take whatever your baseline is and add to it, and then multiply it, and then cube it. And then let it keep going and going into a godzillion. Godzillion is a word that I learned recently, which means a number that only God could know. It's so huge. So when you look at it and you say, oh, I would like to do this, blow the top off of that. Know that wherever you are, it's so much more expansion is coming to you. So whatever you've written or whatever you're thinking in your head, I ask you to connect that with the biggest, broadest, most vast concept of that expansiveness. And now I ask you to close your eyes. You don't have to write anything with your eyes closed. And feel that expansiveness. What you've written down is just the beginning. It's the seed that you're going to plant into the ground. And where that grows to is immense. So I want you to take that seed that you've just written down or you've thought of, and don't see it as, oh, I want to accomplish this, but to see this is where I want to start. And allow yourself to totally embrace the understanding that it is vastness, that it is huge, that what you have planned, even in the furthest stretches of your mind, will not limit you because there are no limits. Your furthest stretches of your mind are not the limits because it goes on beyond that. So closing your eyes, taking a slow, deep breath, taking the idea of what you have planted as the seed, putting it into your heart, putting one hand in front of the other. Understand that whatever your heart desires, that is what the universe is bringing you. It is not what your brain thought of. You are creative energy. You will be creating things that your brain does not even think of. What your heart desires, what your intuition desires, what you are planning on putting forward. That's the beauty and wonder. That's the universe responding to you. Remember, it's always listening. And now with your hand on your heart, I ask you to take the first. It's endless, so we can't go through everything. But the first, whatever you have written on the paper, whatever is your broadest, vastest idea of what you are looking to accomplish in the next 7 years, hand to heart, feeling the love of God, feeling the love of humanity, and saying out loud 3 times that this is completed. If you were looking for great health, you might simply say, I am youthing, I am youthing, I am youthing. Putting it in the I am, putting it in the present, and putting it in your heart, from your heart to your heart. Repeating that 3 times. Now, whatever would be your second, and it isn't a matter of choices, perhaps it's just how you wrote on the paper. I want you again to get clear on what that is. Putting that into your heart, saying out loud 3 times, I am, and then embracing your next adventure. This is a beautiful ritual of intention. We're starting with the intention, but instead of starting with just one, because time will move very, very quickly, we're going to start with 5. So now the third, your third intention, what you are bringing to fruition. Out loud, 3 times, hands on your heart. And now the fourth, out loud, 3 times, hands on your heart. And if you didn't write 5 down, imagine something. Supreme happiness. I am blissful. I am blissful. I am blissful. And now for the 5th one. Remember that Spirit will not hold you to this. This is you sending out your rockets of desire, hands to the heart, 3 times out loud, telling your own inner wisdom, your own selves, and the universe through your spirit guides. The 5th component over the next 7 years. Now quickly going through the ritual, the sacredness, because you have put all of the components together, but almost as if they were separate steps. And in fact, your life is one continuum. In fact, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime is one continuum. So we're going to go back to where we started, but quickly in a continuum, starting back. Think back to where you were in 2011 when Uranus was in Aries. Picture yourself there. What did your hair look like? Where were you working? Who were you married to? That's where you were 7 years ago. Then come forward from then to now, recalling all the major milestones that you've experienced in those 7 years. Again, without judgment. They were not good or bad. They were just experiences. They got you to where you are now. Hold the vision, the expectation, the absolute faith that the next 7 years will be even more adventurous. Things will move even more quickly. You will embrace even more completely the you within. And expect that instead of that energy duplicating the energy of the 7 years before, it's almost like you've been pulled back and now you're being pushed forward. Because without that extra work of Aries, and instead the benefit of being well grounded on the planet with Taurus, perfect. See yourself connecting with your largest vision. See yourself expanding beyond anything you've thought of before, even when you don't have the words for it. Even if you are envisioning some change in your career and you don't even know where that's going, just envision the feel of how glorious that is to be where you want to be, quickly, easily, with grace. Understand that whatever you have put forward here is what we call your heart's desire. It's not what was taught to you. It's not what was marketed to you. It's not what your parents told you shoulda, woulda, coulda. It is what your heart really wants. Your heart, your love connection with me, with others, with source energy. And you didn't just hold it there and imagine it. You set out those rockets of desire. 3 times, the top 5, you proclaimed to the universe, this is me. This is where I am headed. When you say it out loud, of course, the rockets of desire to the universe, but also you're telling yourself, you're telling your own thoughts, you're hearing it in your ears, you're feeling it, the vibrations in your body. You are telling your cells. When you say to your cells, I am abundant, I am healthy, I am happy, you are the director. And you chose 5 magical moments in time that will expand into a life. Remember, this is one continuum. So we're not asking for 5 separate items. We're combining those 5 with many, many others to create the life that you are going to be walking in 7 years. I want you to hold that. I want you to feel that. I want you to know that and recognize that when you sent this out, the universe started to echo back immediately. It started with an understanding of what you wanted. It started with a gratitude because everything you called for was based in love and integrity. You have free will. And by basing it in love and integrity, you not only raise your vibration, but the vibration of the planet. So of course the universe is going to echo back with gratitude. Oh, we are so glad that she decided to base her next 7 years in love and in faith and in gratitude and in integrity. We are so glad that he has decided to raise his vibration and raise the vibration of those around him. That's the echo back from the universe. The same love that you send out echoes back. The same gratitude echoes back. The same respect echoes back. Now, with all of this echoing, you will soon start to hear action steps. You set the intention, you paid attention to it. We had this wonderful sacred ceremony. And now as the echoes are coming back, your inner wisdom and your spirit guides are giving you action steps directly related to your top 5. And so, for a few moments, you will not hear my voice, so that you can hear the echoing of those action steps back to you. They may not even make any sense. Remember that some of the things you called for are so expansive that you don't understand them 100%. That's okay. Allow that echo back. Allow those action steps to be infused within you. Because even without your ears hearing them or your brain fully understanding them, once they are infused, then they will come forward as they are needed to be completed. Listening to the voice of your guides. Remembering that your guides are always speaking to you. So that although they gave you a little gift basket of action steps, some that you understood, some you didn't understand, it's not stopping now. It will continue to flow to you. You purposely sent out the rockets of desire, the questions, the concerns, the passion of what you want to see emerge in your life. And out of that love and concern for you, it is coming back. Taking a few more slow, deep breaths, I ask you to give gratitude. Give gratitude first to yourself for coming this far, for helping to create the golden age, for putting yourself out there and having full faith that the next 7 will be glorious. Thanking the past you, this lifetime and past lives. Remembering that no matter what those experiences were, they built up to where you are now. They built up to where you are in the space of co-creative energy for the golden age. And of course, giving thanks to your ascended masters, your angels, your spirit guides, allowing all of them to have a understanding that they are doing what you are asking them to do. When you give gratitude, it completes the circle. You have asked them, they have given you, and then you say thank you. So that not only are you saying thank you to complete the circle, but also thank you, I would enjoy some more. When you feel comfortable that you have given gratitude, I want you to add just a little bit more, just a little tiny bit, recognizing that we are looking at something that we are launching now, not to take place in 7 years, but to take place over the next 7 years. So perhaps planting a little seed in your own heart and in your own brain, in your own understanding, that says every so often, go back to this page, this idea, and see how quickly you move along, how much you accomplish, how beautifully, with grace and ease, you become that person with that life that you are calling for now in May of 2018. Now, if you listen to this again in a week or a month or a year, you could be listening to this in 2019 or 20 or 22, that's fine. Because again, it's not that you're putting a time capsule in and waiting for it 7 years from now. It will be continually evolving. It will be changing as you are changing and as the planet is changing. So I invite you, if we still have this sort of device in the next 5 years, to listen again on a regular basis. Not to figure out a 5-year plan, but to feel the gratitude for how far you've come, how quickly and easily, and also, perhaps even more important than that, or at least equal, is for you to make the next level of plan. For you to be able to say, oh, I accomplished that. What do I want to build on next? This is not a limit. This is just the beginning. That Taurus foundation, grounding. Recognize that we're still going through a lot of shakes and shifts, but once everything calms down, then that energy of the Taurus will allow you to move with firm step toward everything you are moving toward. Taking another slow, deep breath, embracing and knowing and feeling comfortable with the beginning of your plan for 7 years. Recognizing that you have so much to receive and so much to give. Now I'm going to gently bring you out of this light meditation that you're in. However, if you prefer to stay in it, that's fine too. Simply turn off the recorder and just stay in that blissful center of that space between rest and passion. That space where you're listening to answers. The space where you are receiving the gifts of your next action steps. But if you'd like to come out of it, then simply start to move your fingers and toes. Gently rotate your wrists and your ankles. Allow that movement to slowly come up your legs till you're rotating and rocking your hips, the housing part of the body, up through the shoulders, rotating the shoulders, perhaps tipping your head from side to side and front to back. And when you are ready, just gently flutter your eyes open so that they can adapt to the light. And like I said, for those of you that want to simply stay in meditation, stay there. And for those of you that want to go about your day, remember that you are going about your day with a new level of peace. Peace is groundedness, and a new level of passion, because passion is that movement forward. When you put those two together, it's an amazing combination. It's being able to move forward and yet never tripping, never falling, never looking over your shoulder. The assuredness, the blessedness. Thank you.